Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Brezzy43 here with the next video in our mini series about competitive Pokemon. Gonna come at you and talk about EVs. So you may have heard of EVs, you may not have heard of EVs, but I'm gonna talk to you about them anyway because this is by far the most intensely mathematical that Pokemon gets, and there's a lot of it's really easy to teach somebody what EVs are. So the ceiling or the floor is very low, but the ceiling as to how the ceiling for EVs is huge. You can do a lot of different things with EVs for your Pokemon that can allow your Pokemon to fill a variety of roles. So before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about EVs. What the heck are they? Well, EVs are stat boosts to one of your 6 stats that are acquired by the vast majority of cases acquired by actually knocking out Pokemon. So if you've ever heard, I know from the past when I played Pokemon Heart Gold on my DS, at one point I had picked up an action replay so I could hack my DS and give myself 1,000,000 rare candies and get my Pokemon, a bunch of Pokemon to level 100 just so I could level them up really fast. However, if I were to take a level 100 Charizard and put it that I had given 1,000,000 rare candies to, and also a level 100 Charizard that I trained up there myself, the level 100 Charizard that I trained would be stronger than the level 100 with rare candies. And you may be like, well, hold on, Brad, or Brezzy, how does that work? How come it's the same Pokemon, but one's technically stronger than the other one? Well, it has to do with EVs. So, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, let's go ahead and discuss what exactly EVs are. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Showdown here. We got it all pulled up. So EVs are, here's our Cinderace that we talked about previously when we discussed Natures and IVs. So what exactly are EVs? Well, you may have noticed that this number right here is 508, which is the number of EVs that your Pokemon can acquire. I'm going to be talking about EVs from a level 50 standpoint because that's what the competitive VGC doubles format sets your Pokemon to. Things get a little bit different at level 100 that we'll touch on at the end here. So EVs, they are indicative of the number of EVs that you give your Pokemon actually increases their overall stat number. And you can give up to one stat 252 maximum EVs. So if we take a look at this, at level 50, if you put 4 EVs into one of your stats, you will see one of its stats increase. So if I put 4 into Cinderace's attack stat, it will go up to 137. That is just for the initial point. From here on out, if I want the stat to go up again, I have to put 8 EVs into it. Okay? So I'm not exactly sure why this is the case. I think it has to do with the math behind it. So if we look, if we put in 5, it stays at 137, 6, 7, 8. Even though we added 4, it still stays at 137, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's our extra point. At 12, we get 138. So if we keep going, it should happen again at 20. So let's see, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's our next point. So as you can see, after the initial 4 that you put into a stat, for every 8 that you put in, you increase your stat by 1 with a maximum of 252 into one stat. So if you take a look, we start off at 136 and we end at 168. So we're looking at a 32-point increase here for putting in the maximum number of EVs allowed in one stat. So one of the things you can do that is relatively easy is what you want to do generally is play to your Pokemon's strengths. So in this case, Cinderace is a fast physical attacker, so I would want to put 252 into attack, 252 into speed, and then my last remaining 4, I can choose a value point in one of its defensive stats to give it a little bit of extra, to give it 1 point of bulk. So usually people will do HP, sometimes people will do defense or special defense. It's really up to you. But in this specific case, we have 4 EVs in it. We have the 1 value point here, and we should be looking at like I said, a 32-point increase from from 0 EVs to maximum. Okay, so this is an example of a Pokemon that you would do something like this with. Okay, so I'm gonna slow down just a little bit here. EVs. You put at level 50, you put 4 into one stat, and it will increase the stat by 1 point. And then from there, in order to increase it again, you have to put 8 points, 8 EVs into it. EVs are essentially just stat numbers that you can influence for your Pokemon. You can increase any of their stats that you want as the player to allow it to fulfill a bunch of different roles. So not that you would ever want to do this with Cinderace, but let's say I wanted a fast, bulky Cinderace. Maybe I do something like this. Not that you'd ever want to do that, because this Pokemon is not really a Pokemon that you want to have fulfill this role in your team. But this is something you could do in theory, or you could do something like this. Maybe you want to have a really bulky Cinderace with just a little bit of attack. These are all options. Again, you as the player have the control over what you want to do with your Pokemon's EVs. But generally, it's better to play to a Pokemon's strengths. So if we were to look at the Inteleon that we had on this team previously, if we were to pull that back up, we talked about Inteleon being a fast special attacker, so we would want to have a nature that boosts its speed. And then maybe for Inteleon, we do something like this. This is an example of what a lot of players would consider doing with Inteleon as you play to this Pokemon's strengths. This Pokemon is a fast special attacker that wants to deal as much damage with its special attacking moves as possible. Now, an example of a defensive Pokemon might be something like, let me think for a second. It might be something like Dusclops. Dusclops is a really popular Pokemon in the doubles metagame right now. And if you look at its stats, they're relatively low offensively, but it's got very good defensive stats. So maybe for Dusclops, you look to do something like this, and then maybe you increase one of the defenses with a nature. Let's say you did minus attack or minus special attack plus defense. And then maybe you shot for something like, I don't think you need to do very much here. Maybe we did something like this. So this would be an example of a Pokemon that you would be investing for it to be defensive and survive multiple hits. You put 252 EVs into HP, and then you evenly spread out the other ones to make these. This is an example of what you could do, but you could give 174 for its stat in both defenses. So this is an example of a potentially defensive Pokemon. There are, as you probably figuring out as you listen to me talk about this and show this, that there's a lot of customization that you as the trainer can do for your Pokemon. You can influence them however you want. You can invest in them however you want. Ultimately, there's a lot of room for exploration with a lot of Pokemon. There's a lot of different roles that specific Pokemon can fill. If you are just looking to either play quickly and you want to just get into the games right away, you can always just go for spreads like this. You can always just go for something like this. Some trainers will tell you never do this. Some trainers only do this. Some trainers do a mixture of some Pokemon on their team have stats like this. Some of them are more distributed to other stats as well, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. I want to debunk that right now. Like some people that I've heard talking about this online and on the Reddit forums and on their streams say never do 252, 252, 4. It's just not. It's lazy is what people will call it. It's not lazy. It's great for learning. It's a fantastic beginner point. This spread will be just fine for you. Even if you were to look at something like Dusclops, maybe you do something like this instead. If you want to make your Dusclops really physically defensive, that's fine. That's okay. Is it optimal? Probably not. But is it going to be better than if you just didn't have EVs in it at all? Absolutely. Is it going to be better than, like, maybe you identified that, oh, a lot of the Pokemon that are really popular right now are physical attackers, so I want to have my Dusclops be as physically bulky as possible. Great. Astute observation. That's fantastic. So there's a lot of different variety that you can go with here. If you want to get other players' opinions, you can utilize this VGC or this Pikalytics website, and you can find any Pokemon on this left-hand screen over here and scroll down. So let's say we wanted to see what other people were doing with Dusclops. This shows what moves people are using, what they're commonly pairing it with, as well as these spreads. So here's an example. This is the most popular spread. 15.15% of Dusclopses are a relaxed nature with 92 special defense EVs, 164 physical defense EVs, and 252 HP. Okay, this is just something that you can do if you want to get other players' opinions. You can see that it looks like this person right here, the second most used spread, 11% of Dusclops are exactly what I just showed you. 252, 252, 4. Does that mean it's bad? No, not at all. It's actually probably fine. Is it like optimal? Like I said, depends on your team, depends on the situation, depends on what you're calcing for. That brings me to my next topic. So let me pause here before I go any farther. EVs. What the heck are EVs? EVs are stats that you could, are stat modifiers that you give your opponent to increase their base stats by a fixed amount. Up to 252 EVs can go into a single stat for a maximum increase of 32 at level 50. And you as the player can control these. You can distribute them however you want. You can put all of them into 3 stats. You can spread them out evenly. There's a variety of options that you as the player has. So let's go back to an example on Picolytics here. So as you can tell, Urshifu, the vast majority of the time, this is what people are running. The only difference between these top 3 spreads is that they have their value point. This one has it in special defense. This one has it in HP. This one has it in defense. Completely up to you as the player. You can decide how you want to do it. But as you can see, the vast majority of people are using that speed boosting nature of Jolly with 252 speed and 252 attack. Excuse me. Now, some Pokemon can fulfill multiple roles, and you as the player can ultimately decide how you want to distribute the stats. I don't want to get too in depth here because this EVs are something that a lot of people struggle with, but they also can be very complicated. So I want to keep it simple for the first video that we do here and just kind of talk about them. But let's take here's a really good example of a Pokemon that might have complicated EVs. Let's take a look at Rotom. So Rotom, we're going to take a look at Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat is a pretty popular Pokemon right now because due to its fantastic typing of Electric Fire with its ability Levitate, making it immune to ground moves. So the reason why Electric Fire is so good, if we pull this Pokemon up and take a look at them, where do I go? I think it's this one. Here we go. Okay, so if we take a look at Heat Rotom, so Levitate makes it immune to ground, which is fantastic. If you take a look, it only has 2 weaknesses in water and rock, but it also resists some of the most common types in the metagame right now. Fire, electric, flying, steel, and fairy. So it's fantastic typing for the metagame right now. So if we go back to our showdown, Rotom has a really interesting stat distribution in that its lowest stat is actually its HP. And its highest stats are its defenses, but it has a very good special attack stat and a pretty reasonable speed stat. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with Rotom's EVs to make it beneficial for your team in some capacity. You're almost always going to run a minus special attack or minus physical attack nature because there's no real benefit. You want to play to this Pokemon's strengths for attacks, which is special attack, right? So from here, there's a lot of things you can do. Maybe you want to run a fully offensive Rotom like this. That's an option. You can also maybe you want to run some sort of a lot of times Rotom fulfills a role on a team as a Pokemon that, because of its phenomenal typing, as the player you want to play to this Pokemon's strengths with its resistances, but you also want it to be able to deal damage. So a lot of times what you'll see is a modest nature, so a minus attack plus special attack nature. You could also run plus speed, it's up to you, but oftentimes most players will run maximum HP. This is counterintuitive to what I said previously, where you generally want to play to the Pokemon's strengths, but in this case, because we talked about Rotom being a Pokemon that wants to be, because of its phenomenal typing and ability, it wants to be switching in and you want it to take some hits. You don't want it to just die to a single attack, because that doesn't really utilize this Pokemon's biggest strength of all, which is its typing. Secondly, you still have 256 EVs to work with, and so a lot of players will mix those last 256 between the remaining 4 stats. Let's say maybe I want a little bit of speed to outspeed, potentially other Pokemon that might be slower than it that I want to guarantee that I outspeed. Like, for example, what's a good example of this? Like Rillaboom, for example. Rillaboom is an example of a grass-type Pokemon with base 85 speed that not a lot of people put very much speed into. And so by putting a little bit of your speed, a little bit of EVs into your speed stat, you can guarantee that you will always outspeed Rillaboom. Given that people mostly don't invest much speed into Rillaboom. Secondly, what do you want to do with these remaining 204? Well, a lot of players will put a couple of points into their defense stats like this, let's say, just to help, you know, cushion their stats a little bit, and then maybe they'll put the rest into special attack. Because as we said before, we want Rotom to be able to dish out damage, but also take some hits. Maybe in this case, we'll give it the usual moves. Most of the time, people run Overheat for a really strong fire attack, Thunderbolt for a really strong electric attack, Protect, because Protect is phenomenal in doubles, and then the last move could be a variety of things. Most people run Nasty Plot, which is a raise the user's special attack by 2. This is an example of a Rotom spread that you could run. If we look at Pikalytics, as you can see, Rotom Heat 15.6. Let's take a look at this spread right here. It looks like this person opted for 244 HP, 12 in defense, 4 in special defense, 116 in special attack, and 132 in speed. So they are actually opting for a pretty fast Rotom. They want to go faster than, so maybe they do something like this. What was their spread again? They had 116 in this stat right here. And then these remaining ones they dumped into speed like that. So this Rotom would be able to outspeed more things this way. One of the other things that you can do with Rotom is it does get a phenomenal move in Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp is a great move that burns a target and allows it deals less physical damage if you burn it. And so oftentimes what people will do is they might change their nature to timid, and they might run something like this. Maybe they want to be really fast, and maybe they do something like this, where they have a little bit of bulk here, but their job is to be fast and get off Will-O-Wisps and disrupt the opponent that way. There's a lot of different ways that you can play this Pokemon, and outside of because like I said, because of its phenomenal typing and its ability, you generally want to shore up this weakness right here in this HP stat, because you want this Rotom to be able to take some hits, but the rest is up to you. It can fulfill multiple roles for different players or for different trainers depending on the role that Rotom fills on their team. Rotom in this case would be a fast Will-O-Wisp user to get off burns. If you were to go for something closer to what we had originally, maybe you go for something like this, like we run a good amount of speed and then we do that. That would be an example of an offensively tilted Rotom. Something that it's going to be able to stick on the battlefield for a couple of hits, but it's also going to be dealing some damage. So as you can see, highly customizable, a little bit complicated as you can about imagine. Some players will do things with the damage calculator, which you can find from Pikalytics. If you pull up Pikalytics and you click on damage calculator, it'll take you to this screen. And from here, the world is your oyster. You can do as many calculations as you want given specific things. So let's take a really basic example. Let's talk about Rotom, and let's look at what precious Rotom, Tapu Fini. Okay, so let's take Rotom Heat right here. We're gonna go for a default set, and we're gonna go for Tapu Fini, and we're gonna go for a Specs Fini. Okay, so if you take a look, Muddy Water from Specs Fini deals 91.7 to 108.2, and Scald deals 108.2 to 129.9. So as in this case, our Rotom will die to a Scald from Tapu Fini. So maybe in this case you wanted to tech for that. So maybe you change your nature to Calm and you boost your special defense. Now look, because if we go, I'll show you. If we go back and we change this nature to Calm, we drop our attack and we boost our special defense. And if we go back to our calculator, we now survive Muddy Water from Tapu Fini. And maybe we also want to increase our special defense stat. We're gonna go. Let's say we went 244, and then from here we're just going to keep clicking up until we survive, or until we give ourselves a favorable roll. So in this case, Scald has a 50% chance to KO. Maybe we want to bring that down to 37. So we guarantee this way that we survive Muddy Water, and then we also get the option to have a favorable chance to survive Scald from Tapu Fini. This is just an example of one of the many things you can do. And now let's get rid of this, and let's see. We still have 130 left, I believe. So maybe we go for 126 or something to this effect, right? This is an example of a Rotom that you could tech to be specially defensive, and maybe it does a couple of different things that it would not normally, like you wouldn't normally see Rotom fulfill on a team. But as I said, Rotom being a highly customizable Pokemon can do a variety of different things for your team. Another example, let's see what else pressures Rotom. Let's say Metagross. So Metagross is a Pokemon that oftentimes you will bring Rotom Heat to deal with because Metagross has a really difficult time dealing with Rotom. But let's say in this case, let's say it's an Adamant, and the ability is Weakness Policy, because that's what a lot of people like to run. Whoops. Why is this not? Does it not? Huh. I guess you can't give it a weakness policy in here. I guess that makes sense because you can alter this. So let's just say it had a Lumberry instead. And let's say it was really bulky. This is a really common Metagross spread that a lot of people run. They run like a bulky Metagross, right? So as you can see, Overheat isn't guaranteed to KO. It's very favorable for us. We have a 31.3% chance to KO Metagross with Overheat. But let's say they are carrying Rock Slide as a way to tech against Rotom. As you can see, if they have a Dynamax Metagross, they have a guaranteed KO on your Rotom. So let's say maybe instead of running a Calm Nature, you run a Bold Nature, which is minus attack plus defense, and maybe instead of these, we start looking at, whoops, that's not right. That should be 107. Okay, let's say instead here, we start increasing the defense stat until we live max Rockfall from Metagross. This would be an example of a calculation that, look at that. So this is an example of a calculation you could do with Rotom to guarantee that you survive max Rockfall from Metagross, and then in turn you will also get damage off with your Overheat. So that, I don't want to get too intense, so I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to do too much with this damage calculator today. Down the line in future videos we will get to that as well. But as you can see, highly customizable, allows your Pokemon to fulfill multiple roles on your team. So going back to EVs here. EVs, just to recap, EVs are stat modifiers that you as the trainer can choose how they get distributed to your Pokemon. They can be distributed into any of the 6 stats, and generally you will be playing to the Pokemon strengths like Cinderace. You'll be putting a lot of EVs into attack and speed, and then the rest will go into some value points into the HP. Also, to recap, certain Pokemon like Rotom and Dusclops who might be a bit more defensive, maybe you will be running, like a mixed spread like this. You as the trainer have complete say over your Pokemon. You're allowed to train them however you wish. And this is part of the reason why I love Pokemon, is this aspect right here. It's highly customizable. Players bring unique. This is oftentimes what players will do when they refer to teching for a matchup. Like, let's say I'm running a specific team that is doing very well, and then something rises up in the metagame that maybe a really strong rock type pressures my Rotom Heat. Well, maybe I can revisit my EV spread like we did here and see if we can EV it to survive, to guarantee that it survives a max rock attack from Metagross, for example. So that's EVs. Now, you might be asking, okay, that's all well and good. I think I understand for the most part how it works. How do I actually obtain them on my Pokemon? What does it look like? Okay, well, let me show you. So I'm gonna turn on my Switch here. if you played through your game, you probably, I'm going to switch over to my other save file. I just played through a second save file on my account, on my other game here, so I'm going to switch over to that. And I will show you an example of what EVs will look like usually when you finish playing through a game. So, I think I can show you this right now in the save file. I hope I can at least. Okay, so this was the team I just beat the champion with. So let's take a look at Cinderace's spread. Okay, so this is a lot of times, this is the screen where you would see what the EVs are. You would look at your Pokemon summary, you would go to this page right here. And if you press the X button on your Switch, you will change the way that these stats look to something like this. As you can see, there's a second inner shape inside Cinderace's stats that's yellow, and it's spread out in all different directions. That means that right now I have a Cinderace that is very evenly spread because, like I said, one of the ways you pick up these EVs on your Pokemon is by knocking out other Pokemon. And certain Pokemon, when you knock them out, they give you EVs towards maxing out your EVs. So as an example of this, I'll jump back over to my other screen here. Let's take a look at Rotom again. If we were to find a Rotom in the wild and we were to knock it out, it would give us 1 special attack EV and 1 speed EV. So we would go from 508 available down to 506. And if we look at this again, we would then have, let's say we had nothing here for EVs on our Rotom. If we knocked out another Rotom, we would have we would be sitting at this 1 and 1. And if we did that again, if we knocked out another one, then we would get 2 and 2. So as you see, it can be a really long process. But if we take this Cinderace here that I have in my game, it is level 69. And we take a look at its stats. I'll show you what my spread is right now. It's not going to be maximum yet because I haven't knocked out enough Pokemon, but let's back this up. We are jolly. We have 226 for a speed stat. So that means that we've got about 92. It might be a little bit more than that. It might be a little bit less. I'm not sure. In defense, we have 147. In special defense, we have 138. In HP, we have 199. So this is actually a little bit different. Why is it? Oh, my IVs might be different. Hold on. Yeah, I don't have a perfect HP IV. So I don't know what this actually is right now. That's another thing too, is your Pokemon won't have perfect IVs. So it's difficult for me to know for sure. But the rest, because I traded this Cinderace over to my game before starting, it has 5 perfect IVs. It's missing its HP IV. But special attack, it's actually 117. Because even though I have a minus nature here in the game, when I played through the game, I KO'd Pokemon with Cinderace that gave special attack EVs when they fainted. So unfortunately, I wasted some EVs in my special attack. And my physical attack is at 208. And then the remaining 56, I'm guessing, is here. And then maybe I have maybe this is my overall stat is 199, so maybe I have a 0 IV. I don't know what the IV is. It doesn't really matter. So the whole point of me showing you this is that when you play through a game and you start from level 5, when you pick your starter and you start battling Pokemon, every single Pokemon that you knock out in your game will yield some sort of EV. So if we look at the base Pokemon from this game, Rookidee is one of the first Pokemon you battle. If you knock it out, it'll give you 1 speed EV. Wooloo is another one. If you knock it out, it gives you 1 defense EV. What are some other ones? There's not Greedent, the Squovet, something like that maybe. There it is. Squovet gives you 1 HP. So as you can see, as you play through the game and knock out Pokemon, you yield your Pokemon EVs that increase their stats. If you have the experience share turned on, all of your Pokemon get those stats distributed to them. And when you finish the game, you'll be looking at something like this, where you've KO'd a variety of different Pokemon that have all given you a variety of different stats. that have contributed to the overall growth of your Pokemon. So if we go back to the game, as you can tell, if I press X here, you'll see I have a variety of spread because I KO'd a variety of different Pokemon. If you take a look at my Togekiss is the same way. Variety of different Pokemon KO'd. If we take a look at Jellicent is the same way. Jellicent is spread out evenly like that. Excadrill, same thing. Excadrill is evenly spread out like this. Galvantula. I haven't had Galvantula for very long, so it doesn't have as many stats as the other Pokemon does, but as you can tell, pretty evenly distributed as well. And Venusaur, like that. Okay? So that's how you can see which Pokemon, or what your Pokemon's EVs currently are. And then if you have it distributed like this, you can use Showdown, like I just showed you, to look. Okay, like my Cinderace has 208 attack. I'll raise this bar in Showdown to 208 and see how many EVs it has. Okay, that's an example of how you can actually check it. But if you play through the game, that's going to be what you usually see for your stats. Your Pokemon stats are going to be all over the place, right? But if we go back to my other save file where I have all my competitive Pokemon, I'll show you what it looks like when you have maxed out EVs on your Pokemon. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so if we take a look at, maybe we take a look at this Rotom, or this, I have a Rotom Heat somewhere on here. There he is. So if we take a look at Rotom Heat, I spread it out. It's now white. Okay, you might notice a couple different things here. One, there's stars around HP, and two, the inner shape is now white or gray. Whatever, I don't really know what you want to call that. I guess it's like colored out, right? So in this case, I have, because the inner shape is this color, because it's white like this, that means that I have maxed out Rotom's EVs. Rotom can no longer get EVs. Additionally, I have stars on my HP stat. That means that I have 252 EVs in my HP. So if we take a look at, I'll pull it up here on Showdown. If we take a look at my Rotom Heat, my Rotom Heat has a minus attack plus special attack nature because the attack stat is blue and the special attack stat is red. And we have, I'm gonna just pull it up in Showdown here. Rotom's level 50, and we're gonna take a look at what its actual stats are, or how I distributed the EVs. So we know that HP is max. So if I drag this bar all the way up on Showdown, it does give me 157. Defense is 128. So Rotom's base defense is 127. So I just give myself a value point there. My special defense is actually 132. So I did invest a little bit more in special defense. My speed is 113. And my special attack is 160. So just to recap, take a look again. 157 HP, 128 defense, 113 speed, 132 special defense, and 160 special attack. I'm skipping over the physical attack set because it just doesn't matter for this Pokemon at all. So I'll jump over to Pokemon Showdown so you can see, boom, there's my spread. 252 EVs into HP, 4 into defense for that 128, 164 attack for that 160, 36 into special defense for that 132, and then 52 in speed for that 113. Okay? With me so far? I hope so. It's a lot. I know. EVs are crazy complicated. So if we take a look at another Pokemon, let's take a look at a Cinderace. I do have a Cinderace on this game. There it is right there. So if we take a look at Cinderace, as you can tell, the inner shape is gray, and the attack is starred and the speed is starred. So I have 252 EVs into my physical attack stat, 252 into my speed stat, and then the remaining 4, I don't actually remember where I put them, but I can find out via Showdown. So if we take a look, I have a level 50 Cinderace here. So level 50 Cinderace. And I have an attack stat of 168. So that brings me to attack. That's maximum attack. Maximum speed is 188. And then the remaining EV I put into speed, or I put into HP, which is 156. So if you look at the game one more time, 156 HP, 168 attack, 95 in both defenses, and 188 in speed. If we jump over to Pokemon Showdown, Showdown will confirm this. 156 HP, 168 into attack, 95 in both defenses, and 188 in speed. So that's how you check EVs in Pokemon, is you go to this screen and you push X and you can see where they've been distributed. Again, when you catch a Pokemon or when you hatch a Pokemon, you will not have any EVs in its stats at all. So this Charmander, level 1 Charmander, has zero EVs at all. Because I haven't trained it yet. I haven't knocked anything out. If we take a look at, I think this Weezing is actually still in the process of being EV trained. It actually doesn't have any yet either. I think I've trained most of the rest of these. So how do you actually go about EV training a Pokemon? So just to recap one more time here, we have EVs, effort values. They are given, the trainer can distribute them into any of the 6 stats for the Pokemon for whatever role they want the Pokemon to fill. Fast and offensive, slow and bulky, fast and bulky, bulky and offensive. Anything you want to do with your EVs, the world is your oyster. You're allowed to manipulate them. You check them in game by going here and going into the Pokemon's menu, checking the summary, and if it's whited out like this, it means it's maximum EV'd. If not, you can see that it's spread out like this, different things like that. Okay, that's how you check them. You can use Pikalytics to find spreads so you don't have to do the math yourself. You can copy what other people are doing that they've made popular with. But let's say you wanted to go and EV train yourself. Well, there's a variety of ways you can do that. First and foremost, the way that if I have extra time on my hands, what I like to do, okay, I am actually in Hammerlock, which is good. That's where I want it to be. So if you fly to Hammerlock, I'll step outside just to confirm. Here we are in Hammerlock, okay? So we walk into the Pokemon Center. Right over here to the right is a lady that says, "Welcome to the BP shop, and how might I help you?" If you purchase these items right here, there's 6 of them. There's a power weight, a power anklet, a power band, a power lens, a power belt, and a power bracer. If you purchase each of them for 10 BP, this will allow you to EV train your Pokemon much more efficiently. So rather than going through with my Cinderace and knocking out 252 Rookidee, I can speed up that process a little bit. So, if, let's say, I wanted to, I bought one of each of these. They're slightly different. They all are going to say it reduces speed, but allows another stat to grow more after battling. They all say reduces speed. You don't have to worry about it too much because the speed doesn't actually get decreased in terms of EVs. However, the other stat in this sentence gets increased by EVs. So this just means that your Pokemon's going to be slower in battle because this item is supposed to hinder you in some sort of capacity. So it reduces speed but allows the holder's attack stat to grow more after battling. So like I said, every Pokemon has a EV yield that they give off when you've knocked them out, right? So let's say you KO'd a Rookidee, you get +1 speed EV. But if your Pokemon is holding the power anklet, which allows your holder's speed stat to grow more after battling, you get an additional 8 EVs into your speed stat for every Pokemon that you knocked out. So every single Rookidee that you KO is going to give you 9 EVs into that speed stat. So if you take a look at, if you pull up your handy dandy calculator here, and it's okay if you go over mathematically, your stat will stop at 252. So if you continue to KO Rookidee after you've reached that 252 margin, you'll still get the experience, but you won't increase your EV anymore. So if you take 252 and divide it by 9, I have to KO 28 Rookidee to get a maximum speed stat. That still takes a while, but that's a lot quicker than 252, right? And there's one of these for each stat. There's one of these that allows you to increase the stat or increase the EV yield from a Pokemon with its stat. So If your Pokemon's holding the Power Lens, every time it KOs a Pokemon, it will gain 8 EVs in that special attack set. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it will still increase the special attack stat. It will still give you 8 EVs towards your special attack if your Pokemon's holding the Power Lens, even if it KOs a Rookidee. So like we said, Rookidee gives you plus speed. So every time you KO Rookidee, you get 1 speed EV. But if your Pokemon's holding a Power Lens, it will also get 8 special attack EVs in addition to that 1 speed EV. So training something like Inteleon you could potentially be more efficient that way. If you gave your Inteleon a Power Lens and started knocking out Rookidees, you'd be boosting the speed stat and the special attack stat at the same time. However, obviously you'd be increasing the special attack stat much more efficiently than the speed stat. Okay? With me so far? Not too complicated. Either way, training your Pokemon through battling is a slow process. It takes a long time. There's got to be a faster way to do it. And you're right. There is a faster way to do it. If you have the Isle of Armor DLC, you can fly your way over to the Isle of Armor and go into the dojo. And if you've given Miss Honey a lot of watts, she will install for you vending machines in the back of the dojo over here. And these vending machines allow you to purchase what's referred to as vitamins. So if we take a look, at a discounted rate, mind you. So let's say there's six vitamins, as you can tell here, and each one of them will give your Pokemon. You feed the vitamin to your Pokemon, and it will give you 10 EVs to the corresponding stat. So protein increases attack by 10, iron is defense by 10, calcium is special attack by 10, zinc is special defense by 10, and Carbos is speed by 10, and then HP up is HP by 10, right? So you can, let's say I wanted to purchase 25 bottles of protein. This would give me 250 attack EVs into a Pokemon that I gave it to. So let's say I bought them. I could then go in to my Pokemon. I could then go into my bag, go into, I believe it's in this. Yep, it's in this bag, and then look at, there's all my vitamins, and I can give, let's say I wanted to give all 252 to Weezing, I could do that. It's going to say 26 because you have to get up to that 252, not just 250. But 252 is the maximum that you can give. I'm obviously not going to do it because I don't want to give my Weezing attack EVs, but you get the picture, right? This is, if you've got a lot of extra money in the game, you can actually, this is probably the most efficient way to do this. Now, it doesn't help my Weezing get to level 50, which is something that some players like to do to ensure that the Pokemon learns all the moves that it needs to learn. However, you can actually, you can use rare candies or whatever else you want to get your Pokemon to level 50, and then from there give it vitamins. That works as well. It's completely up to you. But vitamins are the most time-efficient way to increase your EVs. However, it won't actually, you have to have the in-game money to purchase the vitamins. I think you can also purchase the vitamins with BP, and I think that's done in the Battle Tower. I'm going to fly there just to confirm. We're going to go up to the Winden Battle Tower. I think somebody here sells them. Let's find out. This lady does not. This gentleman, does he? Nope, he sells only items. She sells mints. Okay. And then she sells TMs. I think there's somewhere you can buy them. I don't remember where, though. We're going to try one more town here while we keep talking. So, just to recap, EVs are effort values, and you have 508 of them to give to your Pokemon in any amount that you choose, with a maximum of 252 into one stat. The number of EVs that you give your Pokemon in increments of 4 and then 8 will allow you to increase your stat by a maximum of 32 at level 50, specifically at level 50. I don't think maybe she doesn't exist. I don't think any of these other towns have any other BP salespeople. So I guess maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have to have the DLC to get the really efficient way to do it. Maybe this guy sells them. No, maybe you sell them. Do you sell them? No. Okay. So, I guess you have to have the DLC to buy the vitamins in that much bulk. If somebody knows a different way to buy vitamins besides the DLC, then please leave it in the comment section. I don't know them offhand, but this is the... that's the way that I usually do it if I'm going to purchase the vitamins. Or, honestly, I do actually do the EV training by knocking out Pokemon. That's something that I do from time to time, and it works pretty well for me. I do know that I have a bit of a beneficial... I'm a bit more privileged in my ability to do so because I'm able to... I have a lot of extra time to do that when I can supplement it with a lot of other activities that I do. Knocking out Pokemon gives you EVs. The first 4 EVs that you put into a Pokemon stat at level 50 increase it by 1, and then from there, every other 8 that you give a stat increases it by 1 as well, to boost your Pokemon stats however you so choose. You can do a variety of different things with the Pokemon stats for a variety of different builds for your team. Certain Pokemon like Rotom Heat can fill multiple roles. Like I said, it can be bulky and offensive. It can be fast and spread out Will-O-Wisps. There's a variety of different things you can do, and you as the player can experiment with them. You can look at Pikalytics.com and look at popular spreads that people are using and copy them. That's probably the simplest way to do it. I know that EV spreads are very complicated, and so you might often find yourself in a situation where you're not really sure what to EV for, and the whole thing kind of overwhelms you. Just take a look at Pikalytics, or just put 252 into 2 different stats and 4 into the remaining one. For the vast majority of Pokemon, that's going to be okay. Like we said, it's not going to be optimal, but it's going to get the job done, and it's certainly going to be better than just not EVing your Pokemon at all. I think that's all that I have to say about EVs. They're very complicated. I'm going to get more into them in future videos, but that's generally what EVs are for. Effort values obtained through knocking out Pokemon. They make your Pokemon stronger by giving them stat boosts. They can be put into any 6 of the 6 stats that you want them in. And you as the trainer have the ultimate decision over where they go. They can allow Pokemon like Rotom to fulfill multiple roles, and they are obtained through knocking out Pokemon or through the purchasing and gifting of vitamins to your Pokemon. So you can use Showdown to combine them if you want, or to take a look at them and see where you distribute them. Oh yeah, one more thing actually. I was going to touch on one more thing. There's actually an NPC that was created in the game that you can access at the Isle of Armor, and she will actually erase your Pokemon's EVs for you. So like if you played through the game with your starter and you wanted to make your starter competitive, and your starter had what I talked about at the beginning where all of its EVs were spread out all over the place, you could actually fly to the Isle of Armor, and you're going to aim for, let me see if I can see it. I think it's that island right there. That little guy right there that I don't even know if you can see it on the map. You're going to surf just this way. Try to dodge any Sharpedo that are coming at me. I don't see any right now. I think we're okay. We made it. Yep, here she is. So you can actually go here and you can talk to her, and she says when you touch clean sand, it can help cleanse your memories of the toil you've been through. If you want to clear away all of your Pokemon's base points and start with a clean slate, I can help. In exchange for 10 pieces of Armorite ore, she will wipe all of the EVs from a single Pokemon to allow you to re-administer them. This can be particularly useful for, like I said, getting your starter Pokemon to be competitive. Also, it can allow Pokemon that you have, like legendary Pokemon that you can only catch 1 of per game. You can always visit her, wipe off the stats, and redistribute the EVs for a different team because maybe you want to do something different with your Pokemon's EVs for a different team, etc. So, that's all that I want to say about EVs. I know that it is information overload for a lot of people, but if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave a message in the comment section. I will try my best to answer them as quickly as I can. But expect more on this when we get to our team building stuff, because I love EVs. I love the math behind Pokemon. I'm a big math guy, and being able to assure yourself with the numerical logic of Pokemon, of the stats, allows you to do things with the damage calculator to guarantee survive hits, which I personally really like. It can offer a lot of customization and variability between Pokemon, and so even though I might have a Rotom and you might have a Rotom, the chances that they're trained differently is pretty high. So anyway, that's all that I want to say today. Thank you so much for watching. I know it was a longer video today. I'm not sure if I'm going to break this up into sections yet or not, but EVs, very complicated, very fun, very innovative, allows for a lot of room for customization. But as always, thank you for making it this far in the video. I appreciate all of you for watching and hanging out. Leave a comment if you have any questions or any feedback from me or anything you want to see in future videos. And if you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you all in the next video.